So you've been mayor, you're on city council, you deal with this on a daily basis. They talk about it on the radio shows, TV all the time. Maine's brain drain. Ben, how do we stop people from leaving? Because you and I came back. I'm not going to call myself successful, but you're a very successful guy, in my opinion. How do you get people like yourself to want to return to Maine? You wanted to raise a family, but not everybody does. So what incentives can we do? We're not going to get an Amazon up here. Theoretically, I'd love it if we could, but something like that's not going to happen. So what in your mind can we do on the smaller scale to get people to stay and or come back after they've left?
Well, when I did move back, I did want to settle down in this area, but I didn't even know my now wife at the time. And one of the blocks for me to thinking about making the move from Boston back to Bangor was the idea of what is there to do, and also the single scene too. And I was single before I met my now wife. I was single in Bangor for only a few months or so, but I remember thinking already at that point, the single scene for somebody in their late 20s or early 30s and presumably older is hard.
Was that before like Tinder and online dating stuff like that?
Well, online dating was around, but I wasn't into that. But online dating in Bangor, I think, would be hard because everybody knows each other. You're going to see the same people out over and over again. And people pair off really young around here. So I remember being out at bars and people had been married and kids and sometimes divorced by the age of like 25 or 26. And in Boston, people don't even really start dating super seriously until they're 30 or older. But fortunately, I met Mallory and it all worked out fine. But it was a leap. Job is, of course, probably the number one variable. I was working as a financial advisor and doing retirement planning, which fortunately you can do just about anywhere. You don't need to be in Boston or New York or one of the big financial centers. You can do it in Bangor. There's lots of people that would like to move back if they could, but they don't have a job in a field like that. Like if you want to work for NASA, just as an example, I don't know why I thought of NASA, but if you want to do that, you can't do it in Bangor very easily. So job is one, but also lifestyle. I think Bangor has done well with that over the last 10 to 15 years to make this a place where people can feel confident that I'm going to be entertained, I'm going to be stimulated, there's things to do, I'm going to be fulfilled here, whether it's artistically, culturally, just being able to go out to, whether it's Nocturnum or Blaze or Living Central or OBC or whatever it is, and know that you're going to have a good time out. Those types of things that Bangor's done a pretty good job of incentivizing business owners and supporting people to create those things. Jobs is still the number one thing, and we still got a ways to go on that. Bangor's kind of its own little pocket relative to the rural area around us, where you can work for the hospital, you can work for a bank, you can work for a law firm, you can work.
Doctor, lawyer, banker. I saw a meme that said that. It said living in Maine and you're not a doctor, lawyer, banker, good luck.
There's truth to that for sure. But in the brain drain thing, first of all, I'm not crazy about the brain drain term. I know everybody uses it.
I use it.
It implies everybody's smart left though, and I know there's a lot of good people around here that are smart that have stayed or come back, but this has also been a problem forever. And the first time I was mayor, you do a little speech when you get chosen as mayor, and I found Joshua Chamberlain's inaugural address from when he was governor in like the 1870s or 1880s after the Civil War. He was talking about the concept of the brain drain even back then. And he was saying that Maine needs to be known as a great place to stay instead of a great place to be from. He called Maine, I think he called it a nursery of civilization. Like people are born here and cultivated here, and then they go out to serve the world in some capacity. I don't know. So part of it's the geography. Part of it's not having real urban centers other than Portland, and certainly parts of Bangor. But it's not really a true metropolitan area like one of these other big cities. If you're growing up and you want to live in a big city, you're probably not going to stay in Maine. But if we emphasize the recreational opportunities, I mean, Maine's got some of the most beautiful places in the world. As you know, you travel a lot. People come from all over the world to Maine. It was right in our backyard. There's clean water. There's clean air.
Poland Spring.
Tons of stuff to do. Just I don't know. We got to promote that and be proud of it.
I think people forget that because even whether you live in Bangor or really any city in the country, a lot of time people don't leave their hometown. And so even Bangor, like sometimes I'll forget that the Bangor Forest exists with the bog walk and all that stuff. Or in literally 15 minutes from my door, I can be at a beautiful lake, Lucerne, like on a jet ski. And so I think when people just get in the daily grind of like going there 9 to 5 in Bangor and it's March and it's cold and they're like, oh God, this is horrible. But when you're in New York City, it's also cold and horrible, and you're freezing as you run to the subway, and you're working the 9 to 5 to pay for your $3,000 a month apartment, and you don't get to do those things. So sure, there's more like concerts and art and culture and I hate to say it, more attractive dating options, but it's a trade-off. And I think it's also one of those things that I think changes over time. At least for me, like I went to LA for 3.5 years, New York 3.5 years, and then finally I was like, okay, I'm older now. I want to be back in Maine and relax. And you wanted to raise a family. So I think there's a fair amount of that. But the problem is when people originally leave, they then get their husbands and wives in the cities and they end up having a life there and staying. And I don't know because we're not going to talk Amazon into opening shop here. Which has crossed my mind before about like Facebook and those big companies with their server farms. I'm like, they're in Nevada paying huge money to cool all these servers. If they came to Maine, they could just leave the doors open. They'd be cold and they'd be fine. And like pennies on the dollar land in northern Maine, they could build enormous server farms right next to lakes and have build a whole community there. But that's not likely to happen. So it's tough because I think the last time Bangor had a population increase was when we had the military.
Dow Air Force Base.
And that went away, and I think our population dropped by 10,000 people overnight. And so once again, unless there's something magic like the government doing that, I don't know how to increase population. I think the stat that it was a few years ago that the stat started, but it said that Maine's population actually dropped 300. And the following year it dropped 600. So I don't know if that's continued. It was a few years ago I saw that, but if that continues happening, are we screwed for that?
I think Maine was one of only 2 states to have a loss in population by whatever time metric. It was Maine and West Virginia. And the whole system, the economic system, the social service system, it all depends on having new people come in. And if your population is stagnant, and we all know Maine's rural population especially is older, not always... I mean, I don't want to disparage people that live in rural areas, but there's health issues, there's issues with poverty, there's social service needs, but not the dollars to go along with them. And I don't know. We need, it's going to sound like I'm like queuing myself up to run for governor here or something, but we need like a relentless focus on this. And I think in the LePage years, one of the responsibilities of the governor is to be a cheerleader for your state and to be super positive and promote it. And I try to do that with Bangor. I think Janet Mills has already changed the tone and tenor a lot. You got to be super positive about your state.
Don't know whichever way you lean, you still need to be positive. When you have negative, angry politics, it's not good for anybody.
Because that compounds on itself. Just as on the opposite side, being positive builds more optimism, I think. And there are plenty of good things to talk about, and we've talked about some of them here just in Bangor, but just with the universities, there's lots of entrepreneurial things going on at the universities, at the University of Maine, that you wouldn't think that there's businesses being spun out of an academic setting, but there are. And I think Bangor's population will grow. Unfortunately, some of it might be to the detriment of the rural areas, because if you're growing up in, Dover, Milo, Millinocket, East Millinocket, Lincoln, what are you going to do in those areas really long term? Some of those folks are coming to Bangor, which our population might swell a little bit from that. But I don't know. Long term, I worry a lot about the rural areas in Maine and Bangor too. But it would have always been kind of our own little pocket, and I think Bangor's going to be okay.
And so you might not have an answer for this because once again, I don't tell any of my guests questions they're going to get. They just show up and I talk to them about random things. But do you have any way you can say somebody's considering moving back or opening a business? Like one of my tenants actually is doing something called Tip Whip, so I'll plug his thing. It's a thing kind of like Uber. He's had Bangor Savings Bank invest with him, and he's trying to do it with the Orono kids, and it's like an Uber for college kids. Go look it up, Tip Whip. But do you have any programs or incentives you can mention to people? Like I know there's a business incubator sort of thing up on the New Maine campus, but like let's say you're a young single woman, do you know of any city grants or things people can apply for? And you might not know anything, but if you do, tell people about it.
Well, the University of Maine one is good. The Innovation Center up there. We have a makerspace in Bangor that, it's out by the airport. There's a shared office space. There's Covort in downtown Bangor now that's shared working spaces. All those pieces are sort of part of this entrepreneurial infrastructure that we're sort of trying to develop, but it's got a ways to go. In terms of grants, the city does things like facade grants for downtown businesses. There's some development grants in some of the residential neighborhoods, the low and moderate income neighborhoods.
Yep.
But we haven't been able to roll out anything quite as effective as saying, move here and you will get this portion of your student loans paid back, or you will get this.
I heard there might be something like that coming.
The
for
state's
Maine?
Working on that. Yeah. Which would be great. It would be great. I mean, anytime you incentivize something, you don't want to...
It was for young couples, right?
I don't know exactly.
If you were a young married couple, move back. I think it wasn't like they required you to have kids, but it was something like that. Like, come work here for a few years.
Come make babies. We'll pay you.
Well, that's part of the issue, too. It's not only that we're shrinking, but that nobody's having kids.
Yeah.
So it's not that people are moving away, but nobody's repopulating.
Well, back in the day, you'd have families of 10 or 11 kids, and now 1 or 2 is the norm.
Yeah, I come from a family of 4 kids, and I haven't had any yet.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, I'd like to someday.
You're the problem.
I know, I am. I wanted to gallivant around and travel and do my thing.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Well, there's always time. But... no, I mean, what we try to emphasize is just what a great place to live this is, and the work-life balance. And I mean, speaking for me personally, when I came back, I ran for city council within 6 months of moving back and got elected strongly, and there was nobody telling me no not to do that, really.
I was really proud of you, by the way, when you did that.
Thanks.
I think most people it crosses their mind like, oh, I could be a politician to run. So I'd always like, oh, I could do that. And I watched you do it, and I was like, oh man, like I don't know if I could do that. So
well,
I'm really, really proud that you did that.
Yeah, but if I were in Boston and I wanted to be on the Boston City Council, it would probably be 2 decades of winding my way through some bureaucracy.
Oh yeah.
Whereas in Bangor, you can get involved and you can start a concert company, or you can start a business or a restaurant or a food truck or anything like that.
That is the great part about where we're at right now, with just the tip of our renaissance starting. Yeah. If you do want to start a company, Bangor's prime for it right now.
Yeah.
Like even my brother's living in Portland and he's shopping for condos and stuff. He's like, I can't afford anything here.
Yeah.
And Portland's only twice our size, and I'd say probably 20 years ahead of us in growth.
And people will root for your success here. When I moved back, people really wanted me to be here and wanted me to be successful, and helped me in countless ways to be successful.
It's funny you say that, because a lot of people have said the opposite. They'll be like, oh, when I feel back in Bangor, small town mentality where they want to see you fail. But the people that say that to me are always ones that have left and are gone. I'm like, well, you're not here doing it, so maybe that's why they're giving you crap, is because you didn't follow through.
And maybe I don't know, looking at this in a rosy way, looking back, there were definitely people. Actually, there were people telling me to slow down, wait your turn. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't remember those.
Everybody does that, though, because people, like we're talking about the peer group mentality, comparing yourself to others through social media. If somebody's sitting at home watching Netflix and they see Ben becoming mayor, they might have a little animosity towards you, like, because it makes them feel bad about themselves. So a lot of the time, that negative small town talk, I think, is people really just being jealous. Yeah.
I'm sure there's some of that. And hopefully me being involved has inspired some other people to similarly get involved. But... yeah.
Oh no, definitely. That's like I said. That is the one good thing about comparing yourself to others, is it motivates you. Yeah, you have motivated me numerous times, Ben.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
very impressed with your accolades. Yeah.
And you now, I mean, I'd be at a meeting and I'd rather be like at home watching Netflix too a lot of times. So there's 2 sides to that one. But
yeah. Well, once again, as I said, that Jan and I were talking about that exact thing. I think we mentioned Mark Wahlberg, and how he gets up at 3 or 4 in the morning or something. But ultimately, like, there are those people, type A, that want to work hard and be crazy, but you don't need to do that. If you want to watch Netflix for a few hours, like Ben, do you admit you watch Netflix for a few hours?
All the time.
There you have it, guys.
Every night.
You can be successful like Ben and still take the time to watch Netflix.
And your idea of success might be not waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, and that's perfectly fine. That's actually really healthy, I think.
You just watched a segment of the show Chasms of the Mind. To see the full episode, click the link below.